Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. I hope you're doing well. I'm the same as always. When I was 5 years old, I got stung by a bee. And truth be told, it was a dead bee, a big bumblebee. It was on the floor, and I went down and touched it with my finger, and it stung me. I stung myself on this bee. And that memory has lived with me for a long time, and I come to realize that it's like a character trait of mine where I'm just don't really take people's words for things, and I want to know for myself. I want to understand from my own perspective the reality. So I touched the bee and I got stung, and I know bee stings hurt. Last week I was doing a lesson with my kids, and it was about eating cicadas, encouraging people to eat cicadas. And I asked the kids, would you eat a bug? And of course they say no. And I understand really what we eat is just a culture thing. Some places, things that we think are strange for them is normal, and what we think is normal for other people is strange. But I can get the kids to eat a bug by bringing up the reasoning of the environmentally friendly side of things, saying to them, but eating bugs is better for the environment. We can save the world by eating bugs. And some of them still say no, but some of them will say yes. The news out today was about the carbon allowance situation. I don't know if you've seen it. Mr. Brand made a video about it. This label on a sandwich. It's here somewhere. Yeah, there's putting this on sandwiches. This carbon allowance situation. I think it's probably just a problem with the wording of it. The fact they're calling it an allowance makes it sound a bit too draconian for my liking. But I wonder how far we will go to save the environment. I don't recycle. I know I should. But do I? Should I? Should I recycle? Why? Because it's good for the environment. I think a lot of people recycle because they make so much rubbish that they just don't have enough space in their normal bin, and there's an extra bin, but it's called a recycling bin, and they put their stuff into that. Actually save some space. I mean, the main reason people probably recycle in some places is because it's legal. It's illegal not to. They have to actually recycle, and if they don't recycle, they'll be fined. So it's that financial incentive to recycle. Same with electric cars. I would love an electric car, but I'm still wary of the sustainability of the batteries in them and how long that battery will actually live for, and if it is sustainable, or whether I have to replace the battery every 10 years. But a lot of people choose the electric car because there's less road tax. Here in Great Britain we have road tax, and sometimes it's calculated on your carbon emissions. So I'm putting it out there. And if you have an electric car, you don't have to pay anything in some places. So it's the financial incentive that is encouraging people, pushing people down this. They're saying it's environmental, but it's financial incentives. Same with the recycling, same with the electric car, but they say it's for the environment. And now we have this carbon allowance situation, and it'll probably be the same. They pretend it's for the environment, but actually in the future it'll probably just be more expensive to buy carbon things. Sounds ridiculous to say because everything's made of carbon, but people will be making these environmental choices, but really it's financial. How far would you go down the line? Once the beef becomes too expensive, are we going to be eating bugs because it's environmentally friendly? Once the cost of living just keeps increasing to a point where we can't even afford to have children, are we going to not have children to save the environment, when in actual fact it's the financial burden which is discouraging people from having children. But this environmental, what would we call it? This environmental veil over things, kind of, in reality, it's more of a financial fact. It's the financial hardships of people which is causing them to have to make these decisions. The idea that even the bin men, you have to pay for the bin men, but if people recycle, then we can save money. The council can save money. Electric cars, we can save money. Make people charge their own cars up at home. Don't have to have so much infrastructure in our development. We don't need to build gas stations or pipelines because the electric system's already there. People can charge their cars at home. So we can do things for the environment. I get that. But me personally, I touched a bee when I was 5 years old, and so for me, I'm not doing any of it because I'd rather get to that. I need to know. And maybe I'm the problem, I don't know. I don't know if I'm the problem in this world, the one who doesn't listen to what he's told and would rather go and make the mistake for himself than follow the rules or follow the advice of others. Let me know what you think about this carbon allowance thing. I think it's worrying because it's obviously another avenue of control that they can put on us, and goes against our freedoms. And I'm all for freedom, and I do understand that these powerful people in the world, it's not about money, it's just about power. And what is power? Power is control. I see it everywhere. People just doing things, not because it's right, not because it's wrong, but just because they want to control other people. They get something from it inside them. I get no feeling from controlling people. I get feeling from letting people be free and be themselves. I do not wish to control anybody. But I also don't want my daughter to touch a bee. I get it, I don't want to hurt her, but at the same time, that is going to be the best lesson that she could have, and probably for all of us, when we're talking about the environment and looking after the environment. Yeah, they say, oh no, it's too late. Oh, it's too late. Yeah, it's out of control. It's a snowball effect. It's too late, yeah? I'm one to find out. I'm up for finding out. And I have no doubt on humanity's ability to innovate and work things out and solve problems. But how much of this environmental stuff is actually anything to do with the environment and more just about giving an excuse for the increased amount of hardship in our lives caused by cost of living increases, financial burdens, but painting it as we're doing it for the environment. You have to reduce, reuse. But in the actual fact, it's not about the environment. It's about people being poorer and not having enough money to live free lives, and then submitting to this control because it gives them an excuse to make these choices which are enabling them to live less expensive lives, not because they want to or care about the environment, but because they don't have any money. Put solar panels on the roof because the energy is too expensive, not because of the environment. Let me know what you think. You have a good evening, good afternoon, and a good night. As always, don't be busy, be bored. Thank you very much. See you later. Peace.